Why won't Alex Murdaugh go away? Well, I've got a funny feeling we're going to be asking that question for many weeks, months, years to come. Joining me right now, high-profile lawyer out of South Carolina. You'll remember him from the Alex Murdaugh trial coverage. Mark Peper, high-profile lawyer, criminal defense attorney, and on-air legal analyst. Mark Peper, can I first throw this at you? I hope you're sitting down. I didn't see this one coming, but I should have. Alex Murdaugh apparently is getting prison love letters, and one of his lovelorn ladies says she's a, quote, Jessica Biel lookalike. I'm sure Jessica Biel is so proud to be connected to the Alex Murdaugh double murder trial. What's with these women? Why would they possibly want Alex Murdaugh?
Your guess is as good as mine, Nancy.
That's not helping me, Pepper. No, anybody can say
good
that.
To be with you as always. Look. If you're trying to get me to say something bad about women, that's not going to happen.
Oh no! Don't even go there.
I will tell you that these women, somebody right with these women. I mean, who in the world? The guy's been convicted of murdering his wife and son. Not to mention everything else he's done wrong. And Jessica Biel lookalikes from all over the world are now asking him to marry him.
Now, remember, she's a Jessica Biel lookalike according to her. All right.
Well,
that has not been corroborated by me. But can I tell you something? Maybe, there are women, not me at all, that like the bad boy thing. Jackie, I think that might be you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to delve into your history. But the little bit that you've revealed. But, the whole, he's a bad boy, but I can fix him. No, you can't. Who wants someone that you don't know what they're going to do next, that has a history like this and a rap sheet? I guess the only comforting thing is that you at least do know where he is. But have you ever, where are you from, Mark Pepper? I mean, I know you're in South Carolina, but you seem to jet all around.
Born and raised right here in Charleston, right in the Low Country, and Walterboro is 30 minutes away.
When you say you're raised in Low Country, in a rural area, downtown Charleston, where?
No. West of the Ashley, just right across the bridge in the suburbs of Charleston area.
Then this will work for you.
Yeah,
have you ever picked up a frog and looked at it in the face?
Yes, I have, many times.
You know that look it gives you back? It's like there's nothing there. It's cold-blooded. It's not thinking anything. It's just trying to stick out its tongue and get the next fly. It's surviving.
That's right.
That's it. There's nothing there. There's no love. There's no hate. There's no tears. There's no smile. There's nothing. That's what I saw when I looked at Alex Murdaugh. And I looked at him for weeks during that trial. I mostly saw the back of his head and the back of Buster Murdaugh's head. But I did look him in the eyes. There's nothing there. It's blank. It's like looking at a frog.
Love the analogy. And you're exactly right. For any of us that watched a day of the trial, much less 6 weeks of it, you saw a man with zero inside of him. No soul, no emotion. What snot came out seemed to be fake. I mean, this is a frog. You're exactly right. But how many women think maybe is it kissing the frog you turn into a princess? Is that what they're going for here? I don't get it.
A prince.
A prince. There you go.
Okay, let me think this through for a moment. Can I tell you what one lady said? Her name is Katie Marie, writes, I look like a beauty queen contestant. I was compared to Jessica Biel yesterday at the gym. What a compliment. She's so athletic and fit. In other words, I've got a rack like no other. That's what that means.
Right.
And okay.
What's in it for them, though?
I do not know, but Katie Marie has some very stiff competition. A 36-year-old mother of two from Missouri, Rachel B. writes, I would bet I'm the hottest one you've gotten mail from thus far. A 36-year-old mother of two, Lord help those two children. Some have a very forward approach. The thought of Alex Murdaugh consumes me day and night. Well, me too, but for very different reasons. I'm almost tempted to write you something erotic. Oh, go ahead, because I would love to read that. Okay, what on from that, do you think he's getting special attention behind bars? Like, is he getting better food, more privilege? Because I bet you he is. What about it, Mark Pepper?
Yeah, so I 100% agree. My understanding is that he is in an isolated cell, which in and of itself is a special privilege. Now, they're alleging safety concerns because of his part-time role as a prosecutor or something. That's BS. He's getting special treatment. He's getting placed in isolation because he's in the max prison that you can go in South Carolina Department of Corrections. So just on its face, that's special treatment. Not to mention, is he getting the same food that the other inmates are getting? Is he getting the same rec time? Is he getting the same amount of showers? My guess is that he's getting whatever he wants, because don't forget about who we're talking about here. We're talking about a compulsive liar who's a charmer who can turn it on in a heartbeat. If you don't think he's got those correctional officers wrapped around his finger, I would suggest otherwise. These women, they know what they're getting into. They're looking for some fame. They're looking for fortune, perhaps. Maybe a book deal. They get a little pen pal relationship going. Remember, in South Carolina, once you're convicted, you lose any and all rights to benefit from that conviction. So he can't come out, as it currently stands, and profit from his life, right?
But his girlfriend could. Stop. His pen pal
That's
could.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
what
right.
About this? Did you know this, Mark Pepper? Guys, with me is Mark Pepper, high-profile lawyer out of South Carolina, practices in Charleston and beyond, criminal defense attorney and on-air legal analyst. I met him during the Murdaugh trial. What about the Colleton County Courthouse is now offering tours to the public following the Alex Murdaugh double murder trial?
I saw that, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. I mean, they did a hell of a job. I'll give them that.
They were great.
The sheriff's department, they were awesome.
I especially love the bailiffs assigned to that courtroom, Danny, obviously, and Becky, the clerk of courts.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome. Everybody I met there was friendly and very professional. I may go take a tour.
Yeah.
I love the Colleton County Courthouse. It's just like the old courthouses you see in the movies.
And the people are great. I mean, it's the front porch of the Low Country, right? That's their nickname. And they were very accommodating, very hospitable. I guess, on one hand, it is a tourist attraction, like it or not. And so if you're the clerk of court, if you're the deputy sheriff, you got to be thinking, well, they're coming anyway. We might as well get this thing organized, I guess charge a little entrance fee. I don't know, mixed emotions about it for me, but I totally understand the thought process there. They deserve all the attention they're getting. They ran a damn fine show for 6 weeks with all of the
Don't make me come wash your mouth out with soap, because I will do it. Okay, I will.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And
to set an example for the twins, I even washed David's mouth out with soap one time. Believe me, it was very brief. But I had to show the twins that it really could happen, so he took the hit for the team, and he did let me wash his mouth out with soap. He regretted that decision. Hey, everybody wants to know. Well, it was very cursory, but he had to act like it was awful, because then I turned around with the bar of soap and looked at the twins. And they ran. It was awesome. It was an awesome moment. Sadly, that was when they were about 5 years old. They're now 15, and they say things like, "No, Mom." Rude. Okay, back to Alex Murdaugh. Everybody wants to know, why did Alex Murdaugh shave his head? Do you know why? Because I do.
My understanding is he's required to once he gets up to SEDC. That is, protection against lice and whatnot. You get a nice, fresh, clean haircut when you get up there. That's my understanding.
Well, that's exactly what it is. You stole my thunder.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hate it when I do that.
Did you know that I was looking at Buster Murdaugh, who was sitting from where I sat. I could look at Buster right in front of me, and then beyond him was Alex Murdaugh. They both have the curly red hair, although Murdaugh's is fading. Right. Do you know they're so much alike? They're really thick and very wavy. They even have the same identical waves in their hair. Identical, Jackie, because I had plenty of time every day sitting there looking at the way, waiting for Murdaugh to pop another. What was he eating? He was chomping on something all through the trial. What was that?
The mints, the magic mints. I don't know where they came from, how he got them, but he had a ton of them. And one of the most, and this is terrible to say, there were a lot of annoying and disgusting moments, but I found that to be the most distasteful of them all. You've got a jury sitting there for hours and hours and hours with nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and here you are just popping mints.
It was
while
like
the
he
world
was
is
at a
watching you.
cinema, like at the movies, where you're just eating popcorn or whatever you have. It's like he thought it wasn't real. And the only time he really displayed emotion was when he was trying to lie to the jury. I understand. Is it true he is going to go into GP, general population?
I don't see how that's possible. That's where he's supposed to be, yes. But I don't see with the fame he has, and let's be honest, whether we like it or not, whether we think it was kind of a cush position, he was technically a deputized sworn solicitor for our state. We call them solicitors here in South Carolina. Most people call them district attorneys. He was an assistant DA. And I don't think it's a good idea to put an assistant DA in Gen Pop.
Well, guess what I've heard through the grapevine. You better check your sources, Pepper, because Alex Murdaugh, quote, gets along with prisoners. He avoids sex offenders for obvious reasons, but he gets along with the inmates. Now that's according to one of his legal team. He avoids the sex offenders in his unit, but other than that, he gets along with everybody. I guess birds of a feather flock together.
Well, he better get along with everybody. Otherwise, it's going to be a long life in prison. What is he doing? Their legal work? Is he trading, canteen, toothbrushes, Snicker bars? What's he trading in there to get along so well? Right. Well,
could you explain what that is? When people say he's a jailhouse lawyer, what do we mean by that?
Well, I tell you what. Yeah, we get this all the time. When you go to prison, and I understand it ain't a whole heck of a lot else to do, you come up with jailhouse lawyers, and we always joke, well, where did you get your law degree? From SCDC, South Carolina Department of Corrections, right? I got my JD from SCDC. And, not a week goes by where you represent a client around here and you start giving them sound legal advice, and they say, well, my roommate told me about State v. Hendricks 333 SC. And you go, whoa. We talking about your prison roommate that got his JD from SCDC? No. I don't do jailhouse lawyer around here. Now, Alex, I guess, technically is a lawyer. Well, was a lawyer. He got suspended, disbarred. So I guess he's got a little bit more credibility than most jailhouse lawyers. But if you're getting legal advice from that guy,
that didn't even have the sense not to take the stand. Mark Pepper, exactly. I think you and I discussed this off the air, but I really believe if he had not taken the stand and proven himself to be a liar and lying about the night Maggie and Paul were murdered, I think he could have hung up one of those jurors and we would have had a mistrial. I do.
I completely agree. Two things. You heard the jurors come out and say once he took the stand and put himself at the scene 15 minutes earlier with that the Snapchat, right? It was over. We didn't believe a word he said. Two, any chance you had of appeal is now out the window. This thing's not getting overturned on appeal. You took the stand. Once you take the stand, it's very, very, you know how rare it is, Nancy. I mean, 1% of all convictions are overturned for this character stuff. Once you take the stand, it's even less than that. So him taking the stand, it was his decision alone. You heard, you've got a fancier name for Mr. Harpootlian than I do, but you heard him tell the court, against our advice, Your Honor, he wishes to take the stand. He made his bed, and now he's going to lay in it.
Yeah, there's no way Harpootlian would have wanted him to take the stand. Now, this was the big headline in the Post and Courier. Alex Murdaugh receives first South Carolina prison assignment, a secret protective custody unit. What is that?
That's your solitary confinement, but on vacation is essentially what that is. That means he is in protective custody, i.e. no other inmate can gain access to him. He's in a single bed cell with a single toilet, a single sink. He gets his rec time by himself. He gets library time by himself. He does everything under the protection of these correctional officers.
Another source says this, Mark Pepper. A South Carolina Department of Corrections panel decided that notorious former lawyer belonged in a special unit set aside for a small group of inmates deemed to need extra security. Murdaugh is one of 28 people living in the, quote, dorm, isolated from GP general population at their maximum security prison. A dorm? Why is he in a dorm situation?
Yeah, I mean, we all remember the college days, right? Freshman year, college dorm, where you get a bed, a roommate, maybe a couple closets. That's about where he is, except he doesn't have a roommate. He's got the whole dorm to himself. And when he goes to mealtime, it gets brought to him. You know, if he goes he goes by himself. I mean, he's getting special treatment. Let's just call it what it is. And unless somebody's going to tell me otherwise, the only thing I can come up with is this part-time solicitor gig, which, you know, he didn't do anything anyway. So basically, Harpootlian and Griffin and those guys put in a petition, I'm assuming, and he's getting protective custody. Nobody is getting that type of treatment that murdered their family other than Alex Murdaugh.
What do you think is going to happen next? We know that Stephen Smith's body was exhumed and has already been examined. Gloria Satterfield is happening, and then there are all of the fraud charges, nearly 100 fraud charges. What do you think will happen next?
I don't know how he can't plead guilty to those, right? He's already taken the stand. He's admitted to a majority of those crimes. You know, take out the Satterfield, take out Stephen Smith. You talk about those financial crimes. This would be the first person that I can ever come up with in the history of the world that knows he's guilty, has already admitted he's guilty, yet his ego is so big that he himself will request a trial. I guarantee you that those fraud charges, those forgery charges, those tax evasion charges, he'll take them to trial because his ego is so big that if nothing else, he just loves the limelight.
Is it federal tax or state tax, Mark Pepper?
All state. No federal charges to date.
I'm telling you what,
All
do not mess with the
stuff.
tax man, because the tax man will hunt you down to the ends of the earth and squeeze the last penny out of your you-know-what until they get it. They are not going to let up. And
Right.
I don't see this case going away just because he's already in jail.
Well, if I'm the Beach family attorney, and Tinsley's a good buddy of mine, and he's a heck of a lawyer, I'm trying to get this settlement across the finish line because, to your point, once the tax man comes calling, you're not in front of him. You're going to be behind him in line. And what money there is left over.
Is that how it's going to work?
If
Who would get the money,
Yeah, I mean,
Mark? The South Carolina tax man or the victim's family, Mallory Beach, Satterfield possibly?
Well, it depends on two things. One, if there's been a lien filed already, then that lien takes precedence. If there has not, then that's where you have a kind of a rush to the courthouse, is the quote that I'm sure you're familiar with. You've got to go get that judgment so that it supersedes any forthcoming judgments. Now, the problem with that, though, if you're the Beach family, is that the tax judgment is going to take priority. So whether it comes second, third, or fourth, as soon as that attaches, that judgment, it's going to take priority. Now, I don't know what kind of money Alec has left, if any. But my understanding that he was able to tuck them away. Well, I think that's in Maggie's name, although presumably you could probably come up with some type of claim against her estate. It's going to be tough to get money. I mean, it's going to be real tough for the government to get money.
But wait, Mark Pepper, I don't understand something. You're telling me the tax man would get the money before Mallory Beach's family?
All day, every day. A tax judgment is going to take priority over any and all other judgments, as long as, you know, it can be satisfied. So, for instance, if the tax judgment is a year away and the Beach family goes ahead and settles prior to and collects, well, then they're good. But if they just have a judgment that can't be collected on, or it takes a while to collect on, and then all of a sudden you have the tax man coming, the tax man's getting paid first. That's just the law. So, again, I understand Tinsley's position.
Well, have you ever heard the phrase, if that's the law, then the law is an ass?
Yes, I have.
I think that would be appropriate here. To take money away from the Mallory Beach family.
I didn't need any more soap in my mouth today.
To give it to the government.
So I let
is
you
just going to spend it on something we don't care about, like themselves, giving themselves a raise in the South Carolina legislature, much less the feds getting a hold of it and using it to pay themselves. That's what's going to happen.
It is. You're exactly right.
Is there any way to get around that?
Again, if I'm the Beach family, if I'm Tinsley, I'm going and trying to squeeze out as much money as I can right now, because once the tax man gets it, there's nothing to go get.
But who's going to negotiate
Lord
now?
knows,
Whoever's in charge of the estate?
well, that's correct. But the problem is the estate, the money is dwindling so fast, right? I mean, we saw that they let Buster out of the lawsuit. I believe they let the estate out of the lawsuit now. Parker's, we could, this is a topic for a different show, but you still got Parker's involved, who's allegedly sold Paw, the alcohol underage.
Did you actually just say Paw? Did you actually say that?
I did, just for you. Just for you and your viewers to remind them of how absurd that testimony was.
Jackie,
I did
please
call
look
him Paw,
that up.
yes.
Remember the thing I read over and over that the lady made up on YouTube? Okay, tell me again while Jackie's looking that up so I can quote it again.
Yeah, so if I'm going after Parker's, they are a joint and several liability defendant with Alex Murdaugh. And remember, Parker's is the one that allegedly sold Paw the liquor that night, the beer that night that led to the crash. And, you know, we shouldn't be joking about it. I mean, that's just a tragedy, right, in of itself.
It's a tragedy, but he's the one that did that on the stand. He never said any of that until it was his time to look to humanize himself and start using terms of endearment. And frankly, it irritated me. When he jumped up with that, I nearly bust a gasket right there in my little seat on that pew. I could not believe he did that. You never heard him in any other
that's exactly
phone calls, nothing. And then to use, loving nicknames, it's total BS.
Yeah, it was Maggie and Paul, but then when it was convenient for the defendant, it was Mags and Paw. I mean,
well, as much as I would love to keep talking to you, I've got a lot of prison love letters to read. So what do you, just before you get away, what can you tell me about his chances on appeal? I'm talking about on the double murder.
Very slim.
Why?
Very slim. Very slim. First of all, and we'll use layman terms here, when you're not allowed to attack the character of a defendant unless the door's been opened or the defendant takes the stand and brings out his own character. Okay, so there was an appealable issue until he took the stand. Once he took the stand, any chance, in my opinion, any chance of this coming back on the character evidence is going out the window, because he immediately answered in the affirmative, yes, I'm a liar. Yes, I stole from people. So the court's going to look at it and say, what was the harm in bringing it out in the prosecution's case in chief? It came out through the defendant anyway, and therefore any harm that was done is not reversible error because it would not have changed the outcome. So in closing, I think there's a very slim, very, very slim chance this ever gets overturned on appeal. He's going to be in prison the rest of his life. Do you believe if the financial crimes are prosecuted successfully, that will run consecutively or concurrently? Consecutively, especially if it's Judge Newman, and it will be Judge Newman. So all of these cases will go back to Judge Newman, and I'm talking about the financial fraud cases, 99 counts plus the tax fraud? That's correct. He is officially retired come July. However, we have a quirk in our Constitution that allows retired judge to continue to serve at the pleasure of our Chief Justice. And Chief Justice Beatty has named Judge Newman as the judge for all Murdaugh-related cases. So he will continue to hear these cases through their entirety. I guess Alex Murdaugh is going to crap a brick over that. Yes, he is. To look at Newman every day, knowing Newman knows every fact about the murders intimately. Now, I just want to tell you one thing as I bid you adieu. Alex Murdaugh on the stand. Mags and Paw been talking to Roro, Stanky Leg, Little Jimmy, and Fathead, who had heard about pills from the Handsome and the Dibble Dabble, who told Bus and them, who threatened to call the Popo on the talkie-talkie. That's amazing. That is so amazing, Nancy. This guy, it never ends with him. I just hope that you don't end up on the gravy train representing him too, Pepper. That is not high on the radar right now, Nancy. I promise you that. I don't think your wife and children would let you back in the house. They would not. They would not. And we all know who runs the show around my house.
That's right. How many children do you have?
I've got a 13-year-old boy, 8-year-old girl, and love them to death.
I guess the 8-year-old girl rules the roost.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
you knew exactly
here.
who I was talking
you know
about.
What?
That's right.
We always just say, Lucy, what do you want to do tonight? Because whatever we come up with is going to be totally inferior to your plan. So just go ahead and tell us what you want us to do. Give us our marching orders. Okay, Mark Peper joining me, everybody. South Carolina high-profile lawyer, criminal defense attorney, and on-air legal analyst. Goodbye, Mark Pepper.
Love you, Nancy. Talk soon.
Likewise, ma'am. Unless I meet you in court or
Bye-bye.
a dark alley. But Mark Pepper has left us, but just for you, one more time. Now, remember, the jury had heard all of the evidence regarding the brutal murders of Maggie and Paul, gunned down in a dog kennel by Alex Murdaugh. His wife and son, brutally murdered. Never before in any police interview, on the phone with other people, in text messages, emails, nothing had he used terms of endearment. This appeared online. Mags and Paw Paw have been talking to Roro, Stanky Leg, Little Jimmy and Fathead, who had heard about Peel Peels from Handsome and Dibble Dabble, who told Bus Bus and M, who threatened to call the Popo on the talkie-talkie. And with that, I will say, goodbye, friend. I got to go read those love letters.